Hi everyone, how you going? Just thought I'd come on. I was just looking at the comments on the post this morning, and the situation with the cashless debit card, and reading through. Apparently, there's a couple of stories on the ABC about gambling and promoting the card. So I'll catch up with those as I can find them online, but. Talking about domestic violence, husband takes money from wife to gamble, and the government says that there is a card to combat these problems. Families with more money through JobSeeker and JobKeeper. So these two stories aimed at getting Social Security. One story titled Pokey Profits. Right. So, we've heard in the past how it was announced that for a couple, right, you have to financially divorce. If you're a married couple, you'll be given a card each, and you have to split your bills 50-50 and financially divorce. And when a lady in Kalgoorlie asked Senator Sue Lyons about why, because she was heartbroken about having to financially divorce after 43 years of being jointly married, having a joint account with a husband, she was told it was to protect people from domestic violence so that the partner couldn't take the money. But what we found along the way is it does the exact opposite. Because if you're in a situation where you've got a domestic violence situation happening, right, and there's financial control, which is domestic violence involved, the perpetrator will insist, at the threat of harm, to have access to the online portal for your card. May even keep the card in their purse or wallet. You know what I mean? Because we've come across people stuck, trapped, all right, where somebody had no control over their Indu card because their partner, who was working, he had the password to the online portal and he had the card. And this is the risk of leaving the person with absolutely no money, no means of escape. We did have another lady whose partner at the time beat the crap out of her. She ended up staying for another year in the relationship because she was on the card and couldn't get out. You can't go and just book into a motel, you know what I mean? You can't just go. You haven't got the cash to get up and go with. And it wasn't until he flattened her another time and he kicked her in the face that she got up and left, and then didn't know what to do. But she's got her life back on track now. But she had to go and do that. Very difficult for people in domestic violence situations to get away, especially if they're on the card. All right, because financial control is listed as domestic abuse. So putting somebody who's already suffering physical, mental, financial abuse onto another financial controlling card, but then expecting them to be able to keep their password secret or not hand over the details to the abusive partner. You know what I mean? How many black eyes have been received? How many broken ribs does it have to take before the government realise? How many women out there have died this year to domestic violence? I don't know about the men's statistics. You know what I mean? Domestic violence occurs both ways. But being that, again, here we go again, the main people on the cashless debit card are women and children, you know what I mean, with their kids. So for anybody going, oh, it'll help with people, it'll stop them from accessing, no, it doesn't. Ever heard of Google Pay? Where a working person can grab their Indu card and go on Google Pay and gamble to his heart's content with their money. Because that's what one person did. You know what I mean? And she couldn't stop him. And he wouldn't stop. It's ridiculous. And she was too scared to do anything about it. We'd say, change your password. I can't. He's got the password. Right? If I do that, he'll beat me up. I'm scared of him. You know what I mean? What do you do? Unfortunately, until she gets that day in her life where she walks out the door, irrespective of having no money, right, and then has to fight to get her autonomy back, but still on the card, mind you. Yeah. And refuges are full. And how kind, O'Kelly says here, and if you're lucky, if there is any room in a DV refuge, there's no options. And then we find out that domestic violence refuge in Perth send people to either Ceduna or Bundaberg card regions anyway. All right. Yeah, I just thought I wanted to bring that up. All right. Because it's easy for some fluffy counsellor or somebody to say, oh, you know, give them the card. It'll stop the perpetrator of who's ever's gambling being able to gamble. That's bullshit. Right? That is just bloody bullshit. They'll find a way if they're addicted to gambling, just like any other addiction. All right? Because the issue here is preventative services are needed. Counsellors are needed. Support systems are needed. Safe spaces are needed. Sorry, I was almost going to drop an F-bomb then. Not cashless debit cards. Right? That just oppress people and take their rights away even more and leave them open to being further abused in domestic violence situations. Leave them trapped. It's not the answer. So a little push for from a counsellor in Western Sydney today, Fairfield counsellor, right, thinking that the government card will fix all their ills. I'll get to go and find these articles and have a look, but and somebody just let me know that there's a Fairfield counsellor in Western Sydney that's sticking their hand up for the card. You know, yeah, I'm disgusted with what this government's done, what it's done to people, what it's done to parents, what it's done to disabled, sick, pensioners, the whole lot. What it's about to try and do to the workers. We need to unite on everything. You know what I mean? The cashless debit cards are not going to fix addictions. They're not going to cure illnesses. Right? They're not going to make the disabled non-disabled and make them work ready. You know what I mean? Cashless debit cards are not going to stop domestic violence from happening. The increased financial pressure on families is leading to an increase in domestic violence in the regions, right? Because the more financial pressure you put on a family, the more people fight, the more people lose their cool, the more people get hurt. That's just basic human psychology. You know what I mean? Broken families, homelessness. What is this? Where's all our services? Money's going to Indu and their private mates. You know? And when you look at the contracts over the last 5 years, you know, and all the funding that's been thrown in through the different times they've extended the card and they wanted more money to do this or that or whatever. And we're up to around about $255 million so far. That could have helped so many people in such more positive ways. Drug rehab for Ceduna, for starters. Been waiting 10 years for it. All right? And better services up here. Kununurra would have liked some better services too. You know? So, yeah. Very nasty government that doesn't give a damn about domestic violence victims. Doesn't give a damn about people trapped in domestic violence. You know, the crap we've heard over the last 5 years. The card will cure, you know, it'll stop domestic violence. All right? It'll stop, you know, at one stage there you had Twiggy Forrest saying it will stop men from being pedophiles. Really? No. It doesn't stop any of that. You know, by cutting the cash flow for people, especially women with kids, they can't have their stash tin to get away. You know what I mean? Because they've got their 20%. It's about the only thing they've got that they can control. Maybe. Depending on how much control the other person's got. Once somebody takes all your cards off you, you've got no access to cash, you're screwed. That's the bottom line. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw in my 2 cents for the day. And I'll talk to you guys later. Alright, so take care and be aware of what's in the media. And because, you know, promoting the card, talking about DVD and stuff like that. Talking about gambling. And, it, you know, Hinkler's pokies didn't go down after the card came in. That's because the people that were using the pokies were not the ones that they've put on the card. Because the families that they put on the card didn't go to the pokies. You know what I mean? It was the grey nomads that come through and the oldies that are bored all the time. And the workers after work putting $1 million a day through our pokies in our region, right? Even though the card had been here for a year, there was still $1 million a day going through our pokies. It had increased, not decreased. You know, but they used the gambling and the pokies stuff in our papers to get support for the card. And all that happened was the pokies use went up. Gambling rate went up. Go figure. But anyway, I'm out. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.